All right. Welcome back to Mastodon Comics and Music. This is the top. Uh, Last week, I had great guest, my brother in arms, my brother in cover to cover, highly comic bro. Had a great conversation, and it was all his show. And hopefully I can uh, facilitate the same kind of conversation tonight. Uh, my guest tonight is Chris from Cardboard Crazies. How you doing, man?
I'm doing great. How are you doing tonight?
Excellent, excellent.
Good, good. I'm ready
All
to talk
right,
some music.
awesome, awesome. All right, uh, what? I guess what I asked Raul was just what are some of the albums that you have uh, collected or gotten into over the years that have inspired you or whatever. What?
Well, it's a really good question to start off with. I think some of the albums just like anybody that loves music, my musical tastes are always kind of evolving. Um, I'm always trying to find something new, something that I haven't heard before. And growing up, I was raised in a house where it was Southern rock all the time, um, and I think a lot of that comes from my dad. But some of the albums I've really kind of used or bought into. Uh, I'm a big Queen fan. I know that a lot of
Nice.
people get flack over that, but I love Queen, and I bought the Queen's Greatest Hit album, and this was way before Bohemian Rhapsody came out, which, in my opinion, was a fantastic movie. But I bought the Queen's Greatest Hit album, and it stayed on rotation just for the longest time. Um, but I say that because my musical tastes are everywhere. Um, my wife laughs because she'll get in my car certain days of the week, and I'm playing one thing, and then she'll get in my car the another day and I'm playing something completely different on the other end of the spectrum. And she's like, I can't really pinpoint you on what you like. Um, but one of my favorite albums that I've ever bought was by Alter Bridge, and it was One Day Remains. Miles
Mm-hmm.
Kennedy is one of my favorite frontmen. He's got an amazing vocal range,
Yes,
and
he does.
I think I was automatically, before I ever knew that Mark Tremonti played guitar for him. I know that you hear Mark Tremonti and it's synonymous with Creed and
Yeah,
that
yeah.
not like late '90s, early 2000s alternative rock. But before I knew Mark Tremonti was playing with them, I heard a song by them. Oddly enough, on a wrestling show, when Edge came out, he was using uh, Metalingus as
Yeah.
his intro, and I was like, dude, that is like the greatest song I've ever heard. So I started looking it up, and I found out who did it, and it was very soon after that I bought that CD or that album, and I still, to this day, I have to listen to it at least once a week.
Yeah. I I I found my way to Older Bridge in a similar manner through Edge's entrance music. And I had asked my one friend who incidentally did amateur wrestling and huge wrestling fan. And I said, hey, who does that song? And he said Alder Bridge, and I said, I don't know who that is. And then when he said the history of it, uh, I was like, oh wow, because like you said, Tremonti being a former member of Creed, I don't want to say it's a bad rap, but there's that
Yeah, they're like a run it. I hate to say it this way, but Creed ended up being this running joke in the rock genre. And a lot of that I think lays on the hands of their very simple formatted music. Now Tremonti is a phenomenal guitar player.
Oh, I mean, super underrated.
He wouldn't have his own signature guitar if he wasn't. But
right.
But I think a lot of that lays on the shoulders of Scott Stapp. Showing up to concerts plastered so bad that he couldn't even remember his own lyrics, and he kind of was an Eddie Vedder ripoff. I mean, he and Eddie Vedder had a lot of similarities in their singing styles, and I think people kind of laughed at him because he did it and didn't do it very well. But Alter Bridge was definitely a band that I picked up on really fast. I like Hootie and the Blowfish, man. They're one of my all-time favorites. I grew up, in the 90s growing up. I listened to a lot of them. Crack Review was a great album. And Darius Rucker has this unique singing style. So I was really excited to see him when he went solo. I hate that he did country because it's not necessarily my favorite genre of music, but he still had this Hootie and the Blowfish sound. So I could go all day. I mean, there have been so many influential albums. And I guess you being a fan of music, and you could probably say the same thing. You start thinking about it, and all these other albums start to pop up in your mind, and singers and musicians that have been influences.
Hootie and the Blowfish was, I guess, in maybe an indirect manner, was part of my youth as well. My sister bought Crack Review, and her and I listened to that quite a bit. And I had a not a large influence from both of my older sisters. Like my oldest sister, she would bring home like Poison or Motley Crue or Bon Jovi or any of that 80s hard rock, / hair metal, whatever you want to say. And you're not supposed to say hair metal. That's not what they want it called. It's 80s rock, but that's the moniker it achieved. But
well, I mean, you've got to consider. You said Bon Jovi. You've got to consider him one of those people that have had a big influence on. I mean, ballads. That guy, and I mean the band. They have so many good ballads, and I think we start talking about Bon Jovi, and I think of bands like Warrant, and there's just there's so many. I feel like we're going to travel down that rabbit hole with this.
We might. What are your go-to albums? I don't know if that's too similar to the first question or not.
Go-to album, like if I'm just hanging out wanting something to listen to, I would definitely say my first go-to album would be 30 Seconds to Mars. Their very first CD they put out. And I think it might be self-titled, or it's A Beautiful Lie. I can't remember the title of the album, but I've got it, and it stays. Like if I'm just hanging out, that's what I want to listen to. What would be another one? This is going to sound funny, but the Rock of Ages movie, the musical. I love the score from that movie. They did an amazing job with the mashups of songs, and I will pull that out and listen to it. I've even got my daughter to where she's singing the songs that they're. And I'm like, you're singing songs from when I was growing up, and she's like, wow, they're really old. And I'm going, I'm not that old, honey. But it like I said, it just kind of depends on the day of the week, how the morning or the day has gone. I like to pull out some Ozzy sometimes. Ozzy's one of my go-tos, especially when he was in Sabbath. They did some great stuff, and the list goes on. Skinner, I pull Skinner out sometimes, just because they were such a big part. My dad is like a diehard Leonard Skinner fan. Now, he's not one of the people that goes, hey, play Free Bird at all the concerts, but I heard them so much growing up that it kind of became this staple. And when I started buying music on my own, I bought a couple of their albums, and actually at one point, sadly enough, don't anymore, on the Street Survivors album, pre-edit, the one where they had the flames on the cover.
Yeah.
But they were such a big influence to my dad, and my dad writes music. He plays guitar, and his writing style, you can actually hear a lot of that in his writing. So they were a big part of the whole music for me growing up. So I will still pull them out and listen to them. And my wife can only handle so much Skinner. She's like, okay, we're gonna have to listen to something else now.
I know what you mean. You said about growing up in a Southern rock household. I grew up in a majority pop country household. So I told Hialeah last week. He had asked. Well, I asked him. He started talking about concerts, and I said my first concert was Tanya Tucker and Tracy Lawrence.
Oh, wow!
I think I might have been 8 years old, something like that. But that was a string of concerts that we had gone to every year at a local county fair. But Skinnerd was one of the first CDs I bought was the Freebird soundtrack. So I know how you feel about. I know exactly what you're talking about.
Well, I actually sang and played in a band with my dad. We did blues style, but it had kind of a fusion of Southern rock with it. And it's one of those questions as a singer that you get all the time. You get to the end of the concert, and the people are happy with what you've done. You always have that one guy in the crowd that goes, play Free Bird, and you're like, holy crap, not again. So to kind of combat that, we actually learned and started doing Simple Man. And I was like, once we finished learning it and did it for the first time, nobody asked about Free Bird anymore. It was always play Simple Man.
Yeah. I guess that segues us to my next question. Bands. You were in a metalcore band, correct?
Oh god, yeah. I've been in a bunch of different bands. I started singing and writing music when I was in my freshman year of college. Me and a buddy of mine, we got together with his brother and one of my best friends, and we were just like, we're tired of just sitting around twiddling our thumbs. So we decided to start writing music, and it was funny because we started out with no bass player. My friend's brother was a pretty decent keyboard player, so he would carry the bass tone or the bass line on the keyboard, and then my friend played guitar, and then my best friend was the drummer. So Um, Started there, and it was kind of the industrial type deal. It was right around the same time that Linkin Park got really big, and
Okay.
we kind of had some songs that were similar, and then that evolved into kind of an alternative sound. Our band members changed, and then we got kind of we grew up a little bit. So we started writing things more along the lines of the Deftones, and um, we had a couple of songs that sounded a little bit like 311. Um, and, and from there, it evolved. The only person that stayed the same was the drummer. And then we got some other members, and it evolved into this metalcore band that we did. And, our influences were all over the place.
Mhm.
We had influences from bands like As I Lay Dying. I know that sounds like saying a curse word now because of what Tim Lambesis did and trying to hire a hitman that was an undercover cop to kill his wife. But we had influences from them, and just the guitar player that we had was a big Van Halen fan. So we had a couple of
Yeah.
songs that were a little more, um, as you called it, hair metal. That had that kind of 80s, but still a little harder rock to it.
Right.
It was interesting. But we actually we got fairly big here in the South, and we started doing some touring, and I think we did Virginia, West Virginia, Tennessee, South Carolina, North Carolina, and we were scheduled to go from North Carolina to Florida, and then from Florida back up along the East Coast. But it was very shortly after that the guitar player that was in our band had an affair with my wife at the time,
Oh.
and that kind of
Oh.
that dissolved. But we won't get
Yeah.
into that. That's a
That
story.
would.
So after that, I took kind of a hiatus from music, and then about 7 or 8 years ago, started doing some blues, and my dad and I got together, and that dissolved because of COVID. And my dad's he's a big health conscious person, and he didn't like to be around large groups of people. So we just kind of went, okay, look, this it's going to be hard to get back together, and we were like, let's just go ahead and hang our coats up and go different ways. And I'm going to try to continue while he's off camera. So, after we did that, we dissolved. Me and a few buddies of mine, we're actually in the process of writing music again, getting back in the studio and putting some tracks down and writing some lyrics to them. So it's music's been a big part of my life for 20 years now.
Nice. Like I said, I'm glad that you are you're getting back. You're going back to it after experiencing
and
something like that. It's kind of, you know.
it was a sour point, but it's just like everything else.
Right.
You learn from experience, and honestly, it gave me a lot of fuel to write with. I tend to write better when I'm either angry or in a dark place. I don't know why that is, but my lyrics seem to be more thought processed and not as simple. And I enjoy writing, and I got behind my computer and my notebooks, and I would sit and type or sit in my notebook and write out stuff, and um, just kind of progressed. And I mean, it would have been easy to go, I don't want to do this anymore.
Yeah. Yeah.
But that's just not me. I'm not the kind of person that goes, when I'm enjoying something, I can't just go, I'm done. And it just took a change of scenery, and I still to this day love getting up and singing, playing gigs. It'll take the life out of you because there's so much setting up, tearing down, going from place A to place B, But that's all part of the fun of it for me, and getting to meet new people. I've met so many good people through playing gigs and doing music, and had so many great conversations with people. And it's fun. Uh, couldn't hang up something that's fun.
Yeah. That's I guess into that I can compare that to this YouTube thing. There's been moments that I've been on here. I'm coming up on 3 years that I've been like, why am I doing this? And then I get in a conversation with somebody that reminds me why I'm doing this. And that's what it's all about. It's the kinships, the camaraderie-ships that we create.
Absolutely. I think sometimes, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, go ahead.
I think sometimes it's good for us to take a step back, to kind of refresh, because if we're going full steam ahead and just constantly putting out content, or if you're an artist putting out art, or if you're a musician putting out music, then you're gonna burn your fuel out so fast. And it's easy to get excited about something, but it's a lot easier to lose that excitement when something negative happens, or something may throw a kink in it. And if I've always looked at it like this: when you stop having fun, you get to that point where you're like, I hate doing this. It's not even fun to put up content, not fun to write, not fun to do art. Then it's time to quit. Or at least take a step back and go, let me kind of refocus, step away for a little bit. And, I did that at the beginning of this year. End of last year, I started carrying a little bit of steam, and I was like, I'm getting to the point where when I get behind the camera, it's not fun for me. And I stepped back. Jeremy from Remy Q Studios, he was messaging me going, hey, bud, you haven't uploaded a video in about a week. You haven't uploaded a video in 2 weeks, 3 weeks, a month. And I was like, I get that. I'm just trying to take some time to focus on other things for a little bit. I'm not saying bye. I'll be back. But I want it to be fun. And right now I'm feeling a little burnout. So, and it translates, because if you're not having fun, people see that. I mean, when you're behind a camera, this is all they see. And 99% of what you put out is what people see. And if they see that you're just behind the camera going, today we're going to talk about comic books, or today we're going to, they're going to know it, and they're going to go, man, that's fake as heck. And they're going to peace out. But, I found that in those times, I focus on something else for a little bit, and I start to miss my babies. And, my babies are art and music and comic books. So I'll get to that point where I'm starting to itch again and go, okay, I got to get back in. And I guess that's a good reason, or a good show that it's still fun.
Right. Yeah. I over the summer, I took a break, and I delved back into the retro video game scene a little bit, and was watching stuff, and wow, that's gotten crazy over there. But anyway,
I've got a friend. That's what he does. He's all about retro games, and he does like vintage toys. And as you can see behind me, for a little bit, I got into toys. Now most of those are stuff I had when I was a kid, but every now and again it's fun to kind of go out and just buy something odd that doesn't necessarily fit in your collection, but it's, what is the word I'm looking for? It can be a part of it, but it's not necessarily your niche. Like comics. I collect comics, but those two figures right there in the middle, those are Jokers. So yeah, it fits, but it's not something I necessarily collect all the time. And I realized that I was spending way more money buying toys than I was the other things that I
Oh
love.
yeah,
And toys, you can't buy, like when we were kids, action figures were what, $5 or maybe a little over.
yeah,
Now
maybe.
you can't go out and buy a Marvel figure for less than $20, unless you're
Yeah,
buying one that's on clearance. But I don't know. It's just not something I'm gonna do passionately. Every now and again I'm like, yeah,
yeah.
I'll buy that because it looks cool.
I bought a bunch of the Marvel Legend action figures because well, the one was a build a wave figure, and I'm a big Strong Guy fan, so I bought that wave just so I could build Strong Guy. And then there were some other individual ones that I bought because they were X Force members, and that's the book that got me into comics. So it's but beyond that, yeah, I don't. I agree.
Well, the Marvel Legends, I I think I own maybe 6 or 7 of them. Um, and of those, the only one that I purchased for full price was uh, short printed Black Widow. The rest of them that I own, I bought on sale. You know, um, Ollie's is a place I love to go, and Ollie's
Yeah,
has they actually just started carrying Marvel Legends, so I've been buying some from there because they're like $5.99, $6.99, something like that. And I'm going, okay, if I can get this for that, then I'll just wait for them to come to Ollie's and I'll buy them then.
yeah. Speaking of Ollies, I've been waiting for them to start carrying vinyl.
I bet it won't be long because they carry everything else at
Yeah,
one point or another. Everything.
yeah, yeah. I haven't. Well, no, I take that back. I bought Rush's 2112 album at Walmart just because it's my favorite album of all time. And but that price tag it's a little salty.
Yeah, yeah. I've got a buddy that I work with. He's a PE teacher, and he comes in every week. On the weekends, he goes and hunts vinyl, and he comes in every single Monday morning, first thing, and he's like, "Guess what I picked up this weekend?" And I'm going, "Okay, what have you picked up?" And he goes, "I picked up Boston, and I picked up uh, Thriller by Michael Jackson." And I'm going, that's pretty cool. And I respect the heck out of you, but vinyl is something I cannot delve into. I already don't have a lot of space, and I know that if I started buying
Yeah,
vinyl albums, it would take over.
yeah. That was one of the things. I have eh, a pretty decent size collection, but it's not overwhelming. I think I have four. My mother in law got me these cover cases or whatever you want to call them, and they hold 40 or 50 vinyl records in them.
Hmm.
And I think I have four of them, and they're all full. So I might have 200 vinyl records, but I had to stop just like that. I had to stop for space issues, just
Yeah.
like behind me, space issues.
Oh, this right here, that's just a little bit. Over here on the wall to the right of my camera, it's slam full of short and long boxes, and they're probably, let's see, they're 5 high. So I'm going, what else am I going to put in here?
Yeah, yeah.
I got to start getting rid of some of this stuff.
Okay. What? Since we were talking about vinyl, what format is your preferred? Do you prefer to have digital? Do you prefer cassette?
I'm a tangible person. I have to have it in my hands. Now, for albums or for music that I know that I may listen to once and not listen to it again, I'll get it digitally. That's the great thing
Yeah,
about Apple Music. Apple Music, you can get any album you want to listen to at any time, but there are albums that I like, or just there's music that I have to have, and because I know that it's a big part of me as a music lover, and not only that, but I love to support artists because I know what it's like to be a musician and want to sell your music.
Mm-hmm.
And people go, they make all this money already. Well, the selling of their albums is like this much of what they actually get. Most of it has to do with their contracts, but I'm a tangible person, so I have to have, whether it's a cassette album, a vinyl album, CD, I have to have something that I can hold in my hands, especially if it's something, a band or a song that I love. Perfect example was, we were talking about that Alter Bridge CD earlier. That's one of those CDs that stays with me everywhere I go. I've got it on my Apple Music for like, I listen to Metalingus when I'm getting ready to do a concert. It's one of the songs that I always play. It's like my get hype song.
Nice.
So
yeah,
I've got it on my iPhone so that I can listen to it digitally, but it is in my car. I've got a copy in my house. So I have to be able to hold those ones that are special to me.
Yeah.
I see a couple of people talking about Marvel Legends in the comments.
Yeah, we sort of went off, I guess.
Yep. I
was going to say something and I forgot what it was.
I have that tendency to throw people off.
The physical medium, I'm the same way. I ordered the new Iron Maiden album because they're my favorite band, and it got here 2 days late, which so much for Amazon 2-day shipping. But that wasn't what lit me up. I opened the package up, and it was, this may be the comic book collector in me, but it was like bowed.
Okay? Oh no!
It's the double CD, so both CD wells were split the whole way down through. Now I looked at the CDs, but the CDs seem to be okay. But I'm not having that. I'm sending it back. That really made me mad.
Yeah, well, I mean, you're exactly right. It's like the comic book collector and all of us. We buy that one book that we've wanted for forever, and when we get it, we inspect it, and we expect that book to show up just like we saw it when we purchased it. And if it's got divots in it, or if for some reason the person didn't ship it right and it's got spine ticks all in it, we're not happy. We want what we ordered. And I get that, and I think when it's something that's that special to you, then you want it. When you get it, you want it store new, not beat up through the UPS or Amazon new.
Right. And that was the first thing that came out of my mouth was, can we please bring physical stores back?
Yeah, I mean, in the last 10 years, you used to be able to go to Walmart, and I hate to even use Walmart's name because I hate Walmart, but
yeah,
you used to be able to go there and they had rows and rows of CDs. Now you're lucky to find one row of CDs in a Walmart, and even
it's on the end.
Yeah, and they carry all the like mainstream pop and rap and stuff like that, and I'm like, not interested in this stuff. I don't want a Taylor Swift CD. Why do you have a whole end cap of nothing but Taylor Swift? Who in this city is going to buy that? But yeah, it's retail is awful. I think retail's a big fuss. They play games with us. They know what people want, so they don't buy enough, and then people and it causes a big uproar, and then they can shoot the prices up on it. So retail's just, it sucks.
Yeah,
I know that's their goal, but but you're right. You're right.
One of the conversations that Hylia and I had were about concerts. What are some of your best concert memories? Have you been to many concerts? Because speaking for myself, other than that string of country concerts, I've only been to a select few concerts per se. One of them was Skinnerd.
I've been to quite a few concerts, and concerts you probably wouldn't even think you'd find a person like me in. When my ex-wife was in college, I went and visited her one weekend, and she went to a pretty big school, and the Black Eyed Peas were playing at their theater, and I went and saw the Black Eyed Peas, and it was a fun concert. I didn't know much by them, so I was like, the only thing I knew is what you hear on the radio, and went and saw them. But then a few months later, I went to that same theater and got to see the Allman Brothers play, and that was one of the best concert experiences to see. The Allman Brothers are a jam band, whether you cut it or not. I went and saw them play there, and they may have sang 10 songs, but I'll tell you, they played for 3 hours, and and a good 3/4 of that time that they played for the 3 hours was nothing but just instrumental stuff. And oh my goodness, they were phenomenal. Now I know I won't ever get to hear them again like they were then, because some of them have passed and whatever. But that was probably my favorite concert experiences. I've seen. Do you know who Hoobastank is?
Yeah.
Okay.
I actually saw them when I was in college. Yeah. They came to my college.
Okay, so when I was in college, I saw Hoobastank. This is weird concert lineup. Hoobastank, Linkin Park, and POD were in concert together, and it was a fun concert. I really was into POD at the time. I liked their sound because they had kind of a mix of new wave rock and reggae. I was really heavy into 311, and listening to them turned me on to POD. So I saw them live with Linkin Park and Hoobastank, and Hoobastank was pretty good. Their lead singer came out in a pair of jeans that were cut way too low for his waist. If he had turned the wrong way, he would have pulled a Lenny Kravitz and shown his balls to everybody out there.
Jesus.
I saw Stained and Slipknot in concert before together. That was a good one. And Skinnerd, right before their original piano player died, I got to see them at an amphitheater here, actually about 20 minutes away from where I live, which is weird because nobody plays concerts where I live. And they came to this amphitheater, and I got to go see them, and it was just he played Freebird. Here it goes again. He played Freebird like it was the last time he was ever going to play it. And just listening to him play on that piano, because when they do it live, he actually gets a solo part. And you hear them do that live, and him just wailing on the piano was such a surreal moment. And it was kind of transcendent. And there haven't been many concerts that I've gone to where I felt like it took me from where I was to, and this is without the help of any substance, took me from a place to where I was to like just, up somewhere in the stratosphere. And that is my favorite, because my dad and I also, we got to experience that concert together. And that was a real special moment.
Yeah, I agree. It's amazing. He's a household name, but not a household name. And I think until you see him live, he really doesn't get the recognition that he deserved.
Oh yeah.
Or I should say didn't. As a piano player, he was just phenomenal. I mean, he should be mentioned in the same breath with people like Billy Joel and Elton John. You know,
Absolutely.
all the big time piano players that were around. But
Now
yeah,
my wife has been to some crazy concerts. She's seen Foreigner. She's seen Styx. She's a big Styx fan, so she's seen them multiple times. She's even seen Weird Al live, and she said that was one of the funnest concerts she's ever been to. So, she's
I heard
seen,
he puts on a hell of a show.
oh yeah, and you know, I'm not a big satirical music kind of fan, but she said it was like going to any other concert that you'd ever go to, and but it was like very musical but very theatrical at the same time, and he put on a really good show, and it was outdoors, and he still did the whole nine, stage production and everything. Started raining in the middle of his set, and he was like, screw it, we're gonna keep going, and
Wow.
he did. Yeah.
Well, I guess really that's the only base questions that I had. I guess we'll do the questionnaire just because I think it's fun. I don't know. I don't know how many people are familiar with it, but James Lipton, who hosted the
Inside the Actor Studio.
Yeah, Inside the Actor Studio. At the end of each episode, he would do the Bernard Pivot questionnaire, and Bernard Pivot was a French TV personality, I think in the 50s or 60s, but I'm not positive. So that's what this questionnaire is about, and it was kind of fun. We were going down to my wife's aunt's place, and incidentally, I was going to see my buddy who lives not far from there. And but I asked everybody in the vehicle these questions, so it was kind of fun. Certain ones were omitted because they weren't appropriate for like my kids.
Yeah.
But so we'll go on. What is your favorite word?
Favorite word? My daughter would tell you no. Favorite word would probably be pickle.
Pickle.
I don't like pickles, but I always say, "Oh, this is a pickle." Or my wife last time we're in a pickle jam, and which is traffic jam. So pickle's probably my favorite word.
Okay. What is your least favorite word?
Why?
Why?
I love inquisitive minds, and I love people that ask questions when they're trying to figure something out. But just for the sake of saying why, I get asked that 24/7 when at school when I'm teaching.
Oh, yeah.
Today we're going to do this. Why? Well, because it's what I planned for us to do, and it's part of the curriculum. But why? Because that's what our state says. Well, why? So why is one of the questions or one of the words that I hate hearing because I hear it so much.
Perpetual repetition, right?
Yes.
What turns you on? What excites you?
Other people being happy, seeing other people laugh. I feed off of energy, and if I see that other people are happy, enjoying themselves, I tend to enjoy myself more.
Awesome. What turns you off?
Lots of things. What turns me off? Here we go. I'll give you my answer that I would give if I were being asked this in an interview for my school. Somebody that has all the potential in the world to do good things, but just refuses to do them, not because they're lazy, just because they don't want to. They've either been told they're not good enough, or somebody that just doesn't see their own potential, and they just don't do it. I hate hey, I would rather have a group of people, especially in school, a class of kids that can't do but are willing to do and willing to try, than a class that can do and just won't do.
Yeah. What sound or noise do you love?
I love the sound of a sleeping baby. You know those little noises they make when they're the little grunts and moans they make when they're asleep. That is like, or a baby laughing. Babies just, I love the sounds that they make. And you know, I'm not going to answer with the stereotypical rain on a tin roof, even though that puts me to sleep like that. But but babies, I think they make the most awesome sounds in the world. So that would probably be my favorite.
Yeah. What sound or noise do you hate?
The sound of a fork or a knife scraping across a plate. I have really yes, I have sensitive teeth, so when I hear people do that, it makes my mouth hurt. Yeah, it's one of those gut wrenching. Just stop it. My daughter does it. She does it in spite of me, especially when we're using like the glass dinner plates or whatever. She'll take her fork and when we sit down, the first thing she does is she'll drag it across her plate, just looking at me going, I know you don't like this. she's a spiteful, she's a spiteful little thing, but she's funny. She's got a personality the size of the Statue of Liberty.
Isn't that the majority of them though?
Yeah. If she didn't do it, I would think something was wrong with her.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, there's certain idioms that both of my kids, more particularly the youngest one, if they weren't doing it, check her temperature.
Yeah.
What profession other than your own would you like to attempt?
I don't do it very often, but I would love to be the owner of my own restaurant. I would. I love to cook. I love to just come up with stuff, and I don't cook often, but when I do, it's like a drug around here. They're going, oh, more. I don't know if they're just trying to be nice or what, but I wish if I could have any other profession, I would own my own restaurant and be like the executive chef there.
Okay. And since I skipped it, I'll go back to it. What is your favorite curse word?
Cunt.
That's a rough one.
Yeah. You never expect to see your wife flex hers until you call or say that in front of her, and then she flexes it, and you realize I probably shouldn't have said that. So, yeah, I love using that word, probably too much, and I've had to very quickly catch myself sometimes at work because I'll see that either my aggravation is getting high, and I know that if it gets to a certain point, that word is gonna come out. It's like vomit. It's gonna happen. And that's one that I have to watch myself, but I love to say it.
Yeah. All right. What profession would you not like to do?
The one that I'm in. No, I'm kidding. God, if anybody else that I work with sees this, do not show this video to my boss. Disclaimer. No, what would I not like to do? That's a tough question because I feel like there's so much that I've done, but yet so much that I would not want to be the president of the United States. Don't want to do it.
Yeah.
Have no interest in it.
That's a terrible job. Yeah.
I
I
mean,
agree.
you can't please anybody. And you see how it's
Oh,
aged.
absolutely not. No.
You see how it ages the people that are in office. They go in looking semi-young, semi-decent, and they come out looking like they've been beat with the ugly stick, you know? So,
Yeah. Yeah. And finally, if heaven exists, what would you like to hear God say when you enter the pearly gates?
ooh. You know, I saw this on the questionnaire when you sent it to me, and I've been thinking about this one question because I, other than the obvious, you know, hey, what's up, welcome. Um, what would I like to hear him say? Okay, if I got to ask him a question, and he were to give an answer, and this would be what he said to me. What came first, the chicken or the egg? I don't know. It's such a hard question to answer.
Right. He'd be the one to ask too.
Yeah, yeah.
Or he or she.
You know, or what is it? What is it? They what is the name of the movie? What is the meaning of life? Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. And it's
like, 42.
Yeah. You know, what's the meaning of life? And if he answered 42, I think I'd be like, okay, send me back. I'm done.
I'm done.
They had it right all along and we missed it.
All right. Well, that kind of wraps up everything I wanted to ask. I want to thank you for your willingness to come on and have a discussion about music.
Well, thank you for having me.
Absolutely. This originally spun out of that question that I posed over the summer, and I guess that's kind of the reason I chose The Top as the name. So it was a working title in the beginning, but it's kind of grown on me. So I'm hoping to cut through and get better at this interview thing. And
I think you did a fine job.
Well, thank you for saying that. And like, I want to thank everybody who came in and watched us talk about this thing that we, other than comic books, that we love, which is music. And I hope to see each and every one of you in the community and who came in here on this show at some point or another. Again, I thank Chris for coming on. Really appreciate him being able to come in and talk. And I don't know who the next guest will be, but I do know, stay tuned for our next Cover to Cover show. On October 9th, we will be doing Meatloaf's Bat Out of Hell, as basically picked at random by the community. And at some point, I'm going to do another Marvel graphic novel review. This book,
ooh,
it's been sitting up here for like 2 weeks. I need to read it. Chris, what do you got going
on? Wednesday night, I have the normal Let's Talk About It. This week will be on Remy Q Studios channel. Then next Monday, we have Between the Lines with myself and Geek Out with Roscoe. I think this coming week it will be on my channel. Yeah, I think that's right. And in October, Every day of October, I'm doing 31 days of horror movies that you may or may not have heard of, where I'll be doing a short review
Nice.
of maybe some more obscure horror movies, trying to stay away from the mainstream slashers and things that you hear of all the time, just to give people some things that they could maybe throw in closer to Halloween that they hear about and they go, oh, that sounds interesting, because there's so many good movies out there that don't get any love. And I hope to hit on some of those. So 31 days of horror movies you may or may not have heard of.
Awesome. I look forward to that, because I always try to find something to watch during the month of October. So Tubi helped me out last year. I don't know if you're familiar with Tubi.
Absolutely. Actually, some of the movies that I'm going to hit on are on Tubi right now.
Nice. Awesome. Well, again, thank you for everybody that came in tonight, anybody who watches on the rewind. And again, thank you, Chris, for coming on.
Absolutely.
We'll see you next time. In the meantime, get out there and listen to some music.